on, Mac. I'm Darcy. Some time ago, I started a Facebook group called Embrace the Change. And because I would like to share a ton of information with people, women, going through their change, their midlife transition, I've decided to also start this YouTube channel to share a plethora of information that I have learned and I know and that is available out there for all of us to make this transition smooth and easy. So come along. If there is any advice I could give a woman in perimenopause, it would be to pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. It is forever giving you messages on what is going on. We often can mistake some of the symptoms we're feeling as PMS. They can be very similar at the beginning of perimenopause. And I don't say that because I believe you should claim or diagnose yourself to be in perimenopause earlier than you should. It starts at a different age for every woman. I started around the age of 45. I started to notice significant changes in my cycle. It's when we start to really pay attention to the symptoms that we actually have the power to do something different. Often women in perimenopause and in menopause will speak to this feeling of brain fog. Let me tell you, it is a real thing, ladies. Don't brush it off. Don't apologize. Your body is going through a change. Most women know when they experience the symptoms of perimenopause, and particularly menopause, that there is a change in your estrogen level and your progesterone level. A lot of women have estrogen dominance, or so it is said, symptoms. They have heavy bleeding, they have cramps, they have emotional turmoil. All of those things start to show up and we blame it on estrogen. And no doubt, estrogen plays a role. Absolutely, it does. It is starting to change. It is starting to prepare you for the real stage of menopause. Unfortunately, women today are still being told, particularly in the US, to take anti-anxiety medications, antidepressants, for the normal symptoms of perimenopause. In fact, there's some research out there that women should even take antidepressants for hot flashes. Please, 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 really look at your symptoms and start to recognize, start to feel empowered, which is what I'm going to share with you in this channel and on this page. You have the power to lessen your symptoms without taking a handful of medications. There are other ways. Yes, our hormones are in fluctuation. Yes, we are going to experience some discomfort, but the degree and variability at which you experience that is up to you. You have the power to change, lighten, and make this easier. In both PMS and perimenopause, estrogen and progesterone levels are fluctuating. Many women will experience some of the similar symptoms of PMS in perimenopause: bloating, irritability, cravings, lack of focus, emotional ups and downs or highs and lows, inability to sleep. These are some similar symptoms that women feel in PMS. And again, there are things that you can do versus taking medications. Now, one of the questions a lot of women ask is, how do I know I'm in perimenopause? Or are these PMS symptoms? The easy answer is this. If your periods or your cycle are regular, they are probably PMS symptoms, and you are still on a regular menstruating schedule. If your period is irregular and you notice big changes, even small changes, but it's irregular, you probably are entering the stage of perimenopause. It can be a really subtle change until something really drastically starts to happen differently. When I was experiencing perimenopause, the number one thing that told me I was in perimenopause is I started to experience monthly migraines. They were excruciating. I tried everything. Of course, I did go to the doctor and was prescribed a plethora of pain-killing medications. And if that didn't work, to take migraine medication. I did try it for a while, and it sort of worked. And then I began to think, I cannot do this every single month. I cannot take all of this medication. I took a ton of ibuprofen, a ton of acetaminophen, and then I took a migraine medication. And I did that for months just so I could function. I decided I couldn't do it anymore. So I took a different route. I started to study Ayurveda, and boy, did that change my life. The number one reason I decided to pursue Ayurveda, I had a long history and background in yoga, and I had done some study in Ayurveda, but nothing in depth, no specific training. My number one reason was my migraines and the heavy bleeding. Like, what was it that was actually so aggravated within me that I needed to experience this moment? And I talk about it as a moment. It wasn't a moment, it was days. Sometimes it was for 2-3 days I would have these migraines. But what was it that I was doing? Was I eating something wrong? What was going on in my life that I could not see that needed to change so that I didn't have to experience this time in my life? These excruciating symptoms. So the first thing I really started to study even deeper was I already knew my constitution, which everyone, according to Ayurveda, we have 3 constitutions, and everybody has a different combination of them. It is Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. So I already knew what my constitution was, but what was happening in my cycle every month that actually caused migraines. So stay with me. I'm not going to go in great depth right now about the Constitution and the stage of our life and what we can do. All of that. I'm not going to talk, maybe I should say, I'm not going to talk much about Ayurveda in this video because I really want to reserve that for a specific video. But when I learned what I learned, it was so sweet because I finally then had the power to make a change. Before I actually had to experience that. Did I get it right every month? No, I did not. It was absolutely a journey, but it changed a lot of things for me. Without speaking in Ayurvedic terms, here is the number one thing that I would like to end this video with, because it is huge. When we are going through the fluctuations of progesterone and estrogen, often because of the pace of our life and the demands on us in our career, in our family, raising children, the stress that we live with has now become the reason that perimenopause has become a diagnosis. So when I recognized that in myself, I changed. I stopped running and I began cycling, but I wouldn't cycle at certain times of the month. And I love cycling. So to end this video, what I'd really like to get across is look at the level of stress in your life and start making changes to that little by little. Even when I went through my Ayurvedic training, I didn't do everything right away. It was too overwhelming. It was too hard to stay on this strict schedule of what Ayurveda was asking me to do. But I did start to make changes, and little by little, I noticed a big difference. So the number one thing, again, repeat, is look at the level of stress in your life and start making changes. No excuses. Decide if you are worth it. Decide if the symptoms you are experiencing are worth making these changes in your life. So, thank you for listening to this video. I hope you will stay with me. My next video is going to talk about Ayurveda, and I'm going to weave it in to the fluctuation of hormones, not just progesterone and estrogen, but we're going to talk about cortisone levels. We're going to talk about how our adrenals play a huge role in the symptoms that we experience. I love you. There are options for everyone. You don't need to do them all. I am so excited to see what happens. Please leave a comment below. And here's the other thing I would like you to do. I would like you to tell me what your number one symptom is right now that you cannot get a hold of, that feels like it is in control of you. Talk about it below. I really want to hear from you. All right. Mwah. Until next time.